There's nothing I like more for dessert than banana cream pie. Now, if I see that on a restaurant menu, I'm going to order it. If I see that anywhere, I'm probably going to get it. So today we're going to make banana cream pie, but there's a little bit of a problem. There's just the two of us here, and making a banana cream pie means there's quite a bit of pie in quite a few people. So it either means I have to eat a lot of pie or I have to freeze it. Now, I asked my AI friend if you can freeze banana cream pie, and it said, well, sort of, but the pastry cream might break and will become mealy. The crust will get much harder and maybe get soggy. And the bananas will turn black. So I don't think we want to freeze banana cream pie, but I've come up with a solution, which is to make a smaller version, sort of in tart form, of our banana cream pie. So first we're going to start by making a pastry cream. This is a little bit tricky to do, but it's not beyond anything that you can handle. So what we're going to need is we're going to need 4 egg yolks. Now I have 3 of them in here. I'm going to use the hand method to separate the yolks. So let me get the last one in there. And I like to do it in the bowl because if I happen to get something like a shell or whatever in there, I can avoid it. Now what we're going to do to separate these yolks, and I'm going to put them in this bowl here, is I'm just going to use my clean hand, and I'm going to go into the yolks and just pick one out with my hand like this, letting any of the white go through my fingers, and go ahead and put that in there. And we'll just do that with all 4. This is a really simple way of doing it. You don't have to fiddle around with going from one eggshell to the next. And it does let you get all that sort of white that you don't really want in there at all out of the way. And it's pretty simple to do. So if you don't want to use the shell method or you don't want to use another method, just do this, pick them up and use your fingers. Okay, we'll leave our whites over here and we'll use them for another day. I'm going to go ahead and rinse my hand off since it has a little bit of egg on it. We'll clean that off. Okay, so our eggs are ready to go. We're also going to need a 1/2 cup of sugar divided. So each one of these has a 1/4 cup of sugar. A 1/4 cup of it's going to go in with our eggs. And it's also going in with our eggs is going to be a 1/4 cup of cornstarch. This will help with making things thicken up. So we'll go ahead and put that in there. We're going to need a whisk. So a stiff whisk, and we'll just go ahead and kind of whisk this up to combine. Be a little careful because the cornstarch likes to fly all over the place when you do this. So we're just going to whisk till it's kind of combined. Again, you're going to do some additional steps to this, so it doesn't have to be perfect. But that's good enough. Just kind of climb. It's a very nice yellow color. Oops, I'm throwing it away. Yellow color. And we'll put our whisk to the side because we're going to use that again. Our next items, we're going to need the other 1/4 cup of sugar, which I'll go ahead and put in our pot here. And I got to grab some things out of our refrigerator that we're going to need. Okay, so I have the rest of our ingredients that we'll need. This is 2 cups of whole milk. It's important to use whole milk in this. You need kind of the milk fat to make it do its thing. We're also going to use a teaspoon of vanilla paste. You could use a vanilla, a pod of vanilla. If you're really stuck for it, you can use vanilla extract. It's not the best thing in the world. I like to use this little syringe because I know I can get 5 milliliters of vanilla, and that is equal to a teaspoon. And it gives me a way of accurately measuring this vanilla paste, which is hard to get out of the jar. All right, so we're going to turn our milk on the heat and we're going to try to get it to a simmer. So let's go ahead and turn this on, and we'll turn it on to kind of medium heat, maybe a little higher than medium heat. I'm going to go ahead and use the same whisk because at this point it really doesn't make any difference, and whisk in the sugar and the vanilla to see if we can get that to combine. Our goal is to get this to all combine so there's no sugar crystals that are loose in there and the vanilla is in with the milk, and we want to heat the milk up to a temperature that is not boiling but at about a simmer. So that'll take a little while. Move this back so you can see into it maybe a little better. Got a little sticky on the hands, let's wash that off. We also have 2 tablespoons of butter, but we're going to use that a little bit later. So right now, we're just heating up our milk. Just stirring occasionally to make sure there's no sugar that's in there. If you have one of these fancy infrared thermometers, you can go ahead and check the temperature to see how it's doing. We have a ways to go. I'm going to crank the heat up a little bit. Again, I don't want this to boil. It's not good for the milk to boil, and it's just not necessary. Okay, my milk mixture is starting to get pretty close here. I'm at about 170 degrees. I want to get it up to probably 190. You can really smell the vanilla coming off the milk. And again, once we get this kind of to simmer, if you don't have a thermometer, it's okay. You can kind of tell the milk will start to sort of stick on the side of the bowl a little bit, and you'll start to see a little bit of the bubbles like it's boiling. But not boiling heavily, just more simmer. I'm going to let it get a little warmer. The next part of this is where it gets a little bit technical, and there's potential to have this get screwed up. So we want to be careful on our next part. All right, I think I'm okay with our milk temperature. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and turn this way down to just really low, just sort of a warm temperature, and we're going to start to deal with our eggs. Now, eggs in hot liquid equals scrambled eggs. So we need to do what's called tempering our eggs. This almost requires 3 hands. I'm going to go ahead and lose our temperature here, or our heat. And I'm going to gently pour in just a little bit of the milk into the eggs while I'm whisking the eggs. Because what I don't want to do is have this turn into scrambled eggs. So this is called tempering your eggs. I'm slowly heating up this egg mixture to get comfortable with the hot milk mixture. Once you kind of get it in there a little bit, it'll mix really well. We'll go ahead and put a little more in. No reason to do this in a hurry, because all we're doing now is we're just getting our eggs kind of used to this hot liquid. If you poured it in all at once, you would have scrambled eggs. So again, a little more. So I probably have about 1/3 or half our egg mixture in there, or our milk mixture in there now. Getting to be at a temperature it's in the safe zone now where the eggs are hot enough where it probably isn't going to be a problem, but I'm still going to do one more add of the milk just to make sure we're okay. Alright, so I'm going to just move this aside. I got about half of the milk in now. I'm going to put this back over here, and now we're going to just kind of reverse this. So I'm going to put our tempered part into our milk part. and we're going to stir this up. I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat back on, but to that lower range, because what's going to happen now is all those starch molecules in the cornstarch are in a ball, and as they start to heat up, they're going to start to unravel, and when they unravel, our mixture is going to start to get tied up with all those starch molecules, and it's going to start to thicken. So as this heats up, it should start to thicken, and I can see it's starting already. You can adjust the temperature just by feel to see how you're doing. You don't want to have it get cold, but you don't want it to get hot. If it boils, it's going to not get thick. It's going to screw it up. So just monitor your temperature. Your mixture will get a little foamy. Just keep whisking. And in a couple minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, this will start to thicken up. And it kind of happens fairly quickly. Again, we're just kind of getting this up to temperature. Don't worry, it will happen. It'll start to thicken. And I'm whisking just to make sure that any eggs that might want to clump, that doesn't happen. So this requires a little bit of paying attention and managing. Okay, it's starting to thicken, like you can really tell it's thickening now. It's turning more into like a pudding. Be a little bit more careful with your whisking, because this is when you can have it go flying all over the place. Oops, like that. Alright, I'm going to turn the heat off. I'm going to continue to whisk. And what we need to do now is we need to start to incorporate our butter. This is 2 tablespoons of butter in chunks. I'm going to throw 1 chunk in at a time. And I cut it into 8 chunks, but it doesn't really matter. One thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you get each one of the chunks to melt and get incorporated pretty much before you add the next one. If any of you have ever made a beurre blanc sauce, it's very similar. You're building the fat level a little bit at a time. If you throw this all in there, there's potential that you could have the sauce break, which means it divides into the fat molecules where it doesn't get incorporated the way it's supposed to. So again, just 1 chunk at a time. It'll take a minute or 2, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. We're almost done. Again, I am not on the heat right now because this mixture is plenty hot enough to melt the butter, and that's all I'm really trying to do. Get in there. Oops, I threw 2 in at once, that's okay. And just whisk these up so this butter gets incorporated in there. A little bit at a time. This really looks great. As you can see, it's really nice and smooth. All right. Nearly there. I see nearly there, but one of the last steps we have to do with this is we need to stick it in the refrigerator for a couple hours or even up to overnight. This needs to set and it needs to cool before it can be used, really, because there's still potential that it could have a problem. So anytime you make a pastry cream, so you know, anything that requires this sort of a thickening of a dairy product, you're going to need to cool it down. All right, last one going in. All right, so we'll just go ahead and whisk in this last piece of butter. I'm going to pause you for a little bit while this cools off, and then we'll go to our next step, which is to use our friend Mr. Puff Pastry. Hi everyone, we're back now. Just wanted to check in and we're ready to go to our second step. Just one note about our pastry cream. I did move it back to its a little bit bigger bowl, and I've covered it all the way down with cling film, plastic wrap, just to make sure that we don't get a skin on the top. So I'm going to put this back in the fridge. And we'll go ahead with our next step here, which is dealing with puff pastry. Now, what I have here is store-bought puff pastry that is in your freezer aisle. I've gone ahead and let it thaw for about 20 minutes or so, and at that point you can get it flattened out here. There's some work that needs to be done to make this so we can have it in our tart form. Now, a little bit about puff pastry. You certainly can make puff pastry at home. It is a tremendous amount of work. I've done it before. So are we going to do it today? Not today. Today we're going to use our store-bought puff pastry that comes in our freezer aisle. After it's thawed out, I want to make this shape a little bit longer and a little bit wider. So I'm going to use our rolling pin, and I'm just going to gently roll this out to get this a little bit longer. And I have it sitting on some parchment paper right now. It makes it easy to transfer. It makes it easy to move around like I just did there. So just a little bit wider and a little bit longer. If you get some sides that are a little bit wangy, it doesn't really matter. So what we're going to do now is kind of a neat trick. I'm going to take a knife here. It's kind of a big knife. Let's use a little bit smaller knife. And I'm going to make a pseudo pie crust out of this. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with our knife about maybe an inch from each side, and I'm just going to gently score this. I am not pressing hard at all. I don't want to go all the way through. I just want to go partially in to break this up a little bit, and I'm going to do this all the way around, staying about an inch from the edge. Doesn't matter if it's perfect. It's really going to be like the shell of a pie. And we'll go ahead and do this last little bit here, connecting our edges, not pressing hard. I'm just letting the knife tip just kind of score this. And you'll see what we have here is kind of a what looks like a picture frame almost. And when we cook this, these two things will kind of separate out. I've heated our oven to 400. 400, just regular, no fan. I'm just going to grab a baking sheet, and I'm going to take our piece of parchment paper and just slide that on there. It just makes life a lot easier when you can do that. And we're going to go ahead and bake this for about 15 minutes till the top is nice and brown and the puff pastry has done what it says. It's puffed up and we're looking good to go. In the middle of our oven, set the timer to about 15 minutes. I'm going to turn the oven light on so we can see it, and we'll be back in 15 minutes. Okay, it's been about 15 minutes. Our puff pastry is nearly done. We're going to go ahead and pull it out of the oven, and it's going to need to sit cool for a while. We are going to do a little bit of work to it before it does that, but let's see how we're doing. Oh, there you go. Let's go ahead and pull it out, see what it looks like. Okay, you'll see it's nicely golden brown. It really looks kind of like a picture frame. You can see how our serrations have sort of done their job in separating this out. This is going to need to cool for a while. Our pastry cream still needs probably another hour to go to cool off, so we have time. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to break down just gently with my fingers this middle section. because this is where we're going to put our lovely pastry cream and our bananas. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of a breakdown. I'm going to leave our edge up like that because that's going to act like our pie crust. And I'm going to go ahead and let this cool off, and we'll be back when everything's ready to go and we can start our assembly. See you then. Okay, so we're ready for our next step here, and what we're going to do is make some whipped cream, or technically chantilly cream, which is a sweetened whipped cream. So we'll go ahead and get our whisk attachment here on. This is 1 pint, 8 ounces of heavy whipping cream. We'll go ahead and put that in our bowl gently. Try not to splash too much. This, I don't know what it is about whipped cream, it really loves to splash. This is about a cup of confectioner's sugar or powdered sugar. That's going to be our sweetener. You just dump that in there. And I'm going to use, I'm not going to measure this, I'm just going to use a little bit of vanilla in here. It's maybe half a teaspoon. It doesn't really require too much. It's just a little bit of a flavoring agent. Okay, so we can go ahead and get our mixer going. You want to start this lower because you don't want things to go flying around. Just get it kind of going. And once this is going, you can put the spurs to it a little bit. This won't take but maybe 2 minutes to get stiff peaks, which is what we're looking for, and I'll show you what stiff peaks look like. You can do this by hand if you want. You can use just a hand mixer, a beater. This is infinitely easier, so that's what we're going to do. This will shoot stuff, so you may want to cover yourself up a little bit because it has a tendency to want to shoot the cream out. I'll live dangerously. Let me get that going again. We're going to end up piping this onto the finished product when we're ready, but this could be, you could just scoop it on with a spoon. You don't have to be fancy unless you really want to. Okay, we're at soft peak stage right now. We want to get a little bit firmer, maybe 30 seconds more. If you keep going, you're going to make butter, so we don't want to do that. Say stiff peaks. Let's see how we're doing. Stiff peaks are going to be when you look at the whipped cream and just kind of do this, you'll see that the peak will stay there. That means you have stiff peaks, and that is where we want to go. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the refrigerator. We're still waiting for our pastry cream to kind of get set. We've got maybe half an hour left to go. But this recipe, well, there's quite a few steps in it. None of the steps other than creating the pastry cream are technically difficult, and you can do them while your pastry cream is setting. So we're nearly ready to put this together, and I'll see you in about half an hour and we'll finish up. All right, we're finally there. We're ready to put everything together. Our pastry cream has set. I'm going to go ahead and remove our saran wrap, cling film, whatever you want to call it. And you can see that once this has been broken down, it's really nice. It's like a little picture frame that we're going to go ahead and put this in. Before you do, there's one step that I neglected to do that I'm going to do now. After it's sat for a while, you want to whisk this up. It looks really gross right now. But what will happen is once you get the whisk going through there, it'll loosen back up again and smooth out. Just work it a little. It's because it's cold too. I really probably could have let this warm up a little. That would have been better. Put that down so I can give it a whack. Okay. Alright, so we're getting good to go. Okay. So I'm going to take a spatula here. Oh, this is really moving. Rubber spatula, and I'm just going to go ahead and plop it in kind of lumps. I don't want to really mess with this because it's very crumbly in here, and you can kind of get pieces all over the place, and well, it really doesn't make a difference. It's good not to do that. So I'm just kind of lumping this on here now, and I will smooth it out once we get some of this spread in here. You can use as much of the pastry cream as you want, but why won't you use it all? I'm going to. Oops, trying to keep it off the edges. You do have a little bit of grace. If you get some on there, you can move it. Okay. All right. One little scrape here. All right. I have a small little offset spatula. I'm just going to kind of gently try to maneuver this without breaking the puff pastry. It's very brittle, and it will really love to stick to things. So try to maintain your pushing, just, you know, pastry cream on pastry cream. Try not to get to the puff pastry because you'll pull it. It'll just pull up on you. And I'm just trying to create kind of a nice little pillow of pastry cream that's framed by our nice puff pastry that we cut out. All right, I'm gonna let that go. Just sit that over there. Now it's time for our bananas. Probably will take 3 bananas. I don't think it'll take more. What I'm gonna do is just peel a banana. Try to get any, the stringy stuff off of there. Not that it's gonna cause a big problem. Take a little knife, and I'm just gonna cut little slices. They're about 1/4 inch thick, maybe. Try to get them so they don't roll off your cutting board, which one of them tried to do. This doesn't have to be very exact, because you're going to kind of push them into the puff pastry anyway. See if I can keep all of them on the cutting board. I don't know that that's going to work. Let's see. All right. Once you have these cut, then just start filling it in right next to each other. It's going to get covered with whipped cream, so perfection is not required here. I'm just putting them in little rows. You can put them on however you want. I think this looks better. Not that you're really going to be able to see them. Oops, gotta get an extra one in there. You can kind of tell how many bananas you're going to need once you've got a little bit further along. So I got all the way like halfway through with one banana, so potentially I may only need 2 bananas, but we'll see. I'll choose the bigger one because I bet I can get away with just using the 2. All right, same dealio. Stop. Try to keep them even, but again, it's not going to matter if one is a little bigger than the other. All right, that one will not use. Okay, let's see if we can finish this one. All right. Oops, dropped one. Figure try to get as many bananas on there as you can without too much overlap. I don't think that's super effective. Yeah, I'm going to be able to do this with 2 bananas. All right. And I got 2 pieces. I'm going to cover that little one there. All right. So we're ready. We have our bananas all done. Let's clean this a little bit. Clean my fingers a little bit. All right. So only one more step and then we're done. So this took a total of about 2 hours, 45 minutes to finish. About half an hour of it was active. The rest of the time was having the pastry cream rest and other things cool off. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pipe that whipped cream we did onto these. Now you see I have a 1 gallon Ziploc bag that I've put a pastry piping tip into the end, and this is just an inexpensive way of doing this, and we're just going to go ahead and see if we can put little, I don't know, little flowerets or whatever you want to call these on our pseudo banana cream pie. If you don't want to use so much whipped cream, you can just do the border. I'm going to try to cover the bananas up because the bananas will oxidize, they'll turn brown. So if you can cover them up with the whipped cream, it does sort of prevent that from happening, plus it prevents you from seeing it. And you do eat with your eyes first, so we're going to go ahead and pipe some more of that on there. Let me reset this bag a little. All right. This was 1 pint of whipped cream. Is this a diet dessert? Oh no. Is it a very tasty dessert? Oh yes. You're going to want to refrigerate this and try to put some sort of cover on it if you can. You get this sort of lined up here. Once you've gone a little bit, you can just sort of shove the whipped cream down so you kind of form this little cone and give it a twist. It'll help with the pressure. All right. I think I'm going to have some leftover whipped cream. There's always places you can put whipped cream. All right, one more row and we're good. Oops. Don't get sloppy. All right, last one. All right, there you go. This is our poor man's, cheating man's banana cream pie. The nice thing about this is you get everything that you would get from a banana cream pie without it being quite so big. And again, you're not gonna be able to freeze this, but I don't think you're gonna be able to keep it either because you're gonna eat it. So this is good for 2 people. This will probably last in the refrigerator for at least a week if you cover it. I like to take a 13 by 9 baking pan and invert it on top of it to serve as a sort of cover for this, and that seems to work pretty good. So this is our next recipe that we have, and I hope you enjoy it. Again, I'm Pat from Calm Sea Cooks, and we'll see you the next time. Bye.